Clark, have I lost something?
Your fashion sense.
Television lives on chemistry. A glance that lingers one beat too long, banter that cuts just a little too deep, the accidental brush of hands. These are the tiny sparks that keep an audience showing up week after week. But when a show builds its identity around a central romance, those sparks can be as dangerous as they are dazzling. The line between will they won't they magic and we finally did it now what is razor thin, and the fall on either side can take the whole series down with it. This isn't about blaming actors or sneering at shippers. It's about the mechanics of television storytelling. Timing, payoff, and what you put in the engine once the tension burns off. Across decades, networks pushed for weddings to goose ratings. Showrunners stalled relationships to protect syndication formulas. And writers struggled to replace the adrenaline of the chase with something even more compelling. Some couples were mismatched from the start, others were perfect on paper but arrived at precisely the wrong moment. And a few were collateral damage to forces entirely off-screen. Contract drama, production chaos, or executive panic that turned love stories into scapegoats. Tonight we're counting down 8 TV couples whose romances didn't just wobble their shows, they helped doom them. From private eyes who lost their spark the minute the mystery was solved, to sitcom soulmates who never actually got the ending fans waited for, these pairings prove a hard truth. In TV love, the when and the what next matter far more than the who. Before we jump in, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you like this type of video. And if there are any shows or topics from Throwback TV shows you'd like to see us cover, leave it in the comments. Now, let's start at the bar where everybody knows your name. 8. Sam and Rebecca. Cheers. Replacing Diane Chambers, the prickly, literate foil who defined Sam Malone's best verbal sparring with Rebecca Howe, was a high-wire act. Rebecca wasn't a simple stand-in. She was corporate, image-conscious, and desperately aspirational. That difference had promise, but the writers never found a consistent tone for Sam and Rebecca together. One week she was a competent, wry manager. The next, a cartoonish striver falling for boardroom sharks. Sam, once a charming reformed hound, slid back into broad Lothario antics, the bar's grounded humanity bent around their extremes. Romance thrives on a stable center. Sam-Rebecca chipped at it. With Diane, Sam's bravado met its intellectual match, and The Room. Carla's barbs, Cliff's trivia, Frasier's hauteur, orbiting that duel felt cohesive. With Rebecca, storylines lurched toward big schemy farce. When the are they aren't they finally turned into they might, should they, the show couldn't justify why this pairing mattered beyond inertia. The emotional stakes felt thinner, the laughs louder but hollower. Did Cheers still deliver great episodes? Absolutely. A Hall of Fame ensemble and sharp joke density kept the quality floor high. But as a central romance, Sam-Rebecca pulled focus without deepening the series' heart. Instead of sharpening the show's thesis, aging, friendship, and self-mythology in a Boston bar, it often flattened it. In the end, the series course-corrected by returning to character truths bigger than the couple, but the detour proved how fragile a sitcom's balance can be when its romantic core doesn't sing. From a mismatched rebound, we move to the textbook warning everyone quotes when a chase finally ends. 7. David and Maddie. Moonlighting. If TV has a cautionary fairy tale, it's this one. For 2 electrifying seasons, David Addison and Maddie Hayes redefined screwball on the small screen. Whip-smart quips, simmering glances, and fourth-wall winks that made the audience a co-conspirator. The chase wasn't garnish, it was the show. But as production delays mounted and pressure built, the decision to consummate the relationship landed on a shaky runway. The famous finally moment drew massive attention, then the narrative ran out of tarmac. The problem wasn't simply they got together, it's that the series didn't immediately replace the propulsion of pursuit with a new engine. Cases that cut closer to home, secrets that genuinely threatened the bond, or a structural reinvention to sustain intimacy. Instead, the couple became a lightning rod for larger issues. Scheduling, behind-the-scenes tension, tonal whiplash, so fans and executives alike blamed the romance itself. When a show revolves around banter, you can't just swap sparks for domesticity. You must escalate the stakes of connection. Moonlighting taught later writers a lesson they would repeat and misread for decades. Delay, delay, delay. But the real takeaway isn't never let them kiss. It's have a plan for the day after. If the relationship is your series architecture, you need the next floor ready before you cut the ribbon on the current one. Moonlighting didn't, and the building creaked. From a show felled by payoff without a plan, we head to another where a wedding was less happily ever after, and more where'd the fuel go. 6. Fran and Mr. Sheffield. The Nanny's engine was crystalline, a loud, loving Queen's nanny in a tuxedoed townhouse, dropping one-liners while igniting a slow-burn flirtation with her buttoned-up boss. Class contrast and sexual tension did the heavy lifting. The Brady Bunch kids and Niles vs. CC provided seasoning. As ratings wavered, pressure mounted. Give the audience the wedding. And while the ceremony delivered a ratings pop, the series that followed felt like a different show wearing the same clothes. Marriage eliminated the delicious taboo at the center. The employee and her boss streetwise battle with formal and the division between outside and inside. Post-wedding, the writers leaned harder into pregnancy gags and domestic plots that didn't offer the same comedic voltage. Fran's fish-out-of-water charm dulled when she officially belonged in the mansion. Mr. Sheffield's flustered sputter, once a charming defense, became less plausible as a husband still bewildered by Fran being Fran. The very asymmetry that made the romance sizzle had been responsibly resolved, and that responsibility cost the show its mischief. Could it have worked? Yes, if immediately swapped for new engines. Legit marital conflicts rooted in background or a structural shift that forced the couple into fresh fish-out-of-water territory. Instead, the series found comfort in sitcom domesticity. The laughs remained, but the urgency drained. The lesson isn't don't marry them, it's replace the spark with a brighter bulb. Our next couple tried that, capping their love story in superhero spectacle, yet discovered even spandex can sag when the chase is over. 5. Lois and Clark. The New Adventures of Superman. From the pilot onward, this show promised two fantasies at once: a swoony newsroom romance and a bright weekly rescue. Clark's secret punctured every flirt, Lois's ambition pinned every near confession, and the tango worked because both halves challenged the other. When the wedding finally arrived after fake-outs and clones, it closed the loop the series had chased. Unfortunately, it also exposed a hole in the post-payoff plan. Lois and Clark could have pivoted to the harder question: what does married heroism do to personal identity? How do two workaholics sustain intimacy under Cape-level time theft? Where are the moral cliffs when your spouse knows you can listen across a city? Instead, episodes often drifted back to villain of the week antics without re-engineering the couple's stakes. The romance had been the premise. Once resolved, it needed a bigger premise: ethical dilemmas, career collisions, or serialized threats burrowing into the marriage itself. The show's tone, rom-com bright, comic book earnest, made such a pivot tricky, and external pressures didn't help. But audiences sensed the energy dip. Clark and Lois hadn't become dull. The framework around them did. Television couples don't die from happily ever after. They fade when the writers can't answer, convincingly what keeps us nervous now. Speaking of nervous energy, few shows milked cat and mouse fizz like our next pick, and then struggled the second they admitted what the audience already knew. 4. Laura and Remington. Remington Steele. The hook was irresistible. Laura Holt, brilliant detective, invents a male figurehead to make clients take her agency seriously, and a charming con man slips into the role, becoming Remington Steele. Casework crackled because every clue was a flirt, every lie a test, every reveal a near confession. The slow thaw between them was the spine. But acknowledging the relationship without meaningfully evolving the premise turned their romance into static. Once the will they won't they question softened, the show needed fresh jeopardy. Deeper secrets about Remington's past that truly threatened trust, or professional stakes that challenged Laura's control in ways romance alone couldn't. Instead, the series often resumed case of the week rhythms as if the switch hadn't flipped, and off-screen turbulence made consistent momentum tough. The result wasn't bad TV. It was muted TV, a soft fade where a bold re-gear should have roared. Audiences didn't reject the couple, they missed the game. If your entire architecture is truth as foreplay, consummation must unlock bigger truths, not close the door. Without that escalation, even the most stylish sleuthing starts to feel like reruns of last season's better flirt. From a mystery romance that under-evolved, we head to a basement-hang sitcom that overcorrected, pairing characters in its final stretch that contradicted years of chemistry. 3. Jackie and Fez. That 70s show. For 7 seasons, Jackie's romantic axis spun between Kelso's chaos and Hyde's anti-establishment cool. Whether you loved or loathed those pairings, they reflected the show's core tension, a vain, high-status teen toggling between pretty nonsense and unexpected depth. Enter Season 8, departures in the cast, and a last-minute pivot: Jackie with Fez. On paper, it was optimism meets vanity in a sweet oddball package. In practice, it felt like the writers circled the remaining regulars' names and drew a heart. Why did it clank? Not because Fez wasn't worthy. It's because the series had never built the ladder to get there. There weren't seasons of layered glances, near misses, or shared growth. The pairing read as a Hail Mary endgame to fill a void left by Eric and Kelso. Viewers sensed the retcon, 7 years of character logic set aside for a finale-friendly bow. Instead of paying off a long game, the show asked audiences to pretend one had happened. Endgames can surprise if they honor the map. Here, the map was overwritten. Jackie and Fez didn't just flatten both characters. The whiplash spotlighted every other creative wobble in the final year. When audiences complain the couple ruined the show, they're often naming a symbol, not the cause. In Season 8, the symbol was Jackie Fez. Next, a case where the symbol and the cause blurred, because the relationship was the brand and the brand started cracking. 2. Castle and Beckett. Castle thrived on contrast. A best-selling man-child, shadowing a disciplined homicide detective. Their flirt had texture, her guarded competence, his playful imagination, and the writers fed it real cases that bled into feelings. When they finally committed, the show faced familiar choices: escalate the stakes or sink into cozy routine. It attempted both, alongside a different problem: off-screen turbulence that spilled into on-screen perception. Reports of co-star tension and a widely criticized plan to continue without Beckett for a hypothetical next season turned the romance from asset to liability. Fans invest differently when the couple is the poster. Cancel the promise or hint you might rewrite it around a missing half, and the story's contract with the audience tears. Even before that, the series sometimes separated the leads via contrived conflicts, wary of burning the chemistry too fast. The push-pull read less like organic drama and more like executive fear. Castle didn't collapse overnight. It delivered late-run highlights and clever cases, but the romance, once its heartbeat became entangled with brand instability. When your couple is the franchise, any fracture, real, rumored, or narrative, feels existential. And sometimes a show is doomed not by overcommitment, but by eternal hedging. Which brings us to a sitcom that teased a resolution for years, and then refused to pay the check. 1. Tony and Angela. Who's the boss? Few sitcoms manage slow-burn tenderness like this one. A housekeeper with a heart of gold and a high-powered ad exec, slowly building a chosen family. For seasons, the series invited us to imagine how right it could be if Tony and Angela admitted what the audience already knew. But as syndication math and network caution set in, the show kept its leads in a holding pattern. Eyes soft, timing perfect, and brakes slammed. When the finale finally arrived, it swerved around decisive closure in an effort to preserve the eternal maybe. Why did that doom the show's legacy? Because a sitcom about growth and family ended by refusing to grow its central relationship. Audiences can accept many endings: a wedding, an amicable parting, even a bittersweet miss that honors who the characters are. What they resist is a non-ending driven by off-screen calculus rather than on-screen truth. The romance had become a question the show was afraid to answer. In syndication, endless tension can be a feature. In the age of event finales, it became a bug. Tony and Angela demonstrated the flip side of the Moonlighting lesson. Withholding can be just as fatal as rushing. Close the book too late, and you don't just frustrate, you retroactively dim the glow of seasons that earn something better. Which leaves us where we started, asking what keeps TV love alive after the spark. Conclusion: it's tempting to blame the curse on kisses and weddings, as if romance itself were a narrative toxin. But these 8 couples show a more precise anatomy of failure. Stories die when timing is off, when payoff arrives without a bigger engine ready to bolt in, when mismatched dynamics yank a series off its axis, or when executives panic and treat relationships as levers instead of living parts of the world. Viewers don't abandon a show because affection blossoms. They leave when that affection isn't harnessed into fresh stakes. The fix isn't mysterious. If you're going to cash in the chase, you must level up the conflict. Values in collision. Secrets that cut deeper. Careers and families genuinely tested. If you're keeping the tension alive, you must evolve it. New contexts, earned setbacks, and character growth that changes the meaning of the longing. And if your couple is the brand, protect the contract. Audiences will forgive missteps, not betrayal. In short, romance is neither cure-all nor curse. It's a volatile fuel. Handled with care and foresight, it can rocket a series to unforgettable heights. Handled carelessly, it scorches everything it touches. The next time a show teases the big moment, ask the only question that matters: what happens the morning after? The answer will tell you whether the series is built to last, or about to join this list the hard way.